The last question of your test asks you to group a table to a graph and an equation. So you had tables, so you start with A, you look at your graphs and decide which graph goes with A, and you decide which equation goes with A. And you just do the same thing for group 2, which is for table B, group 3, which is table C, and group 4, which is for table D. I'm only going to do 2 of these groups and let you finish the rest based on the information I used. So if I find for group 1, I'm going to look at table A and look at the information it gives me. Well, what I can tell is that as X increases, Y increases. So for my graph, I'm going to have a line that increases. So I have 2 graphs that are increasing. This is not increasing or decreasing, and this one's decreasing. So I can tell right off the bat that my answer is either going to be E or F to group with A. So I can see that they're both increasing. Another clue that can help me out is finding the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is when x is 0, what is y? My y is -1. So I'm going to look at for the graph that has a line that runs through the point -1 on my y-axis. Or my y-axis is this up and down line. I want to find my y-intercept by determining when this line runs into my y-axis. So from there, I can determine that f is going to be my graph for A. And I can use the same information for determining the equation for A. Now remember, my slope or my rate of change is increasing, so it's going to be positive, and my y-intercept is going to be -1. So I can look down here, I can look at each equation and look at which equation has a y-intercept of -1 and which one has a slope or a rate of change that is positive. And only one of them down here has a y-intercept of -1 and a positive slope. So now I'm going to look at group 4. Group 4, I'm going to use the same information to help tell me what is my graph and what is the equation. So if I look at the information, it looks like as my x increases, my y increases. So I'm going to have an increasing slope. And I also notice that my y-intercept, when my x is 0, my y is 1. So I'm going to find a graph that has a y-intercept of 1 and is also increasing. Well, I'm kind of back to these two. These are the only 2 graphs with increasing slopes or increasing lines. And then my y-intercept is when my line runs into my y-axis. So I got to determine which graph has a line that runs into the y-axis of +1. It looks like it's going to be E. Now I can use the same information to find the equation that matches that. Again, I know that my rate of change is positive, so I'm going to have a positive slope, and my y-intercept is 1. So I got to find an equation that has a positive slope or positive rate of change and a y-intercept of 1. And only one of them down here have that information, a y-intercept of 1 and a positive slope. And it's got to be this one.